Hi, this is Andrew McLaren. Today we're going to talk about how to support students who are new to the school, as well as students who are in English language development or English language learners. Maybe they're new to the country and they need a little bit of extra support with that language development. Or maybe they're in SPED, so they have special needs and they need a little bit of extra support. Now, I'm going to try and show you how to automate your onboarding process using a lot of videos. It really is effective for supporting all these groups. And it's essentially teaching them the norms and the useful resources of the classroom. So in this video, we're going to talk about the student perspective, what's kind of going on from them, like why are they failing and how do we get them to not be? And then that I'll show you the assignment that I've made. And then I'll go over a couple tips that I really like to highlight in addition to that assignment to help out the English language development students, but it also supports everyone as well. It just more specifically helps out some people. When we're trying to support these students, it's important to keep in mind that they blame themselves a lot of the time for not being successful, when in reality, we haven't done enough to support them. So they're oftentimes going to be embarrassed, so they won't come to you for help because they're embarrassed or they don't want others to see that they don't know what a word means or that they don't understand some parts of like the basic language that everyone else seems to kind of get. So you need to make sure that there's ways for them to ask questions in class without like raising their hand and understand the instructions and rewatch or re-listen to instructions over and over again. The best way to do this is with videos. And I'll go over a little bit more about how I use videos to do this. But I like to highlight that, like, of course, you should always have written instructions. I think video is better because it's written, but they can also listen to it. And so if they know a word by the sound and not like by the written characters, they can kind of follow along a little bit better, right? Never do oral instructions for projects. That's completely unfair. You have to give students some way, as well as parents, some way to check the understandings and know what they're working on and what they're expected to do, right? Um, so there's two pieces that we're gonna be focusing on is making sure that they understand how to do like assignments. And then there's also them understanding how to work with the technology that they're using so that they can help themselves. That's a big part of this is that the students need to be able to know what to do when they get stuck so they're not blaming themselves for getting stuck, right? Okay, I'll show you in the next bit. For my students that I needed to get caught up, I gave them this one giant assignment. They did just this one thing, and I would excuse everything up to that point. So this was what it looked like. It was called the How to Get Caught Up. Students did this on their own. This was actually during COVID, so they just did this on their own time. And I changed how much I would excuse throughout the year. So it was like, okay, you would excuse all of quarter 1, excuse all of like quarter 3 at this point, like excuse up to that point, and everything before that doesn't really matter. We're just going to focus on what you get turned in after you do this one assignment. And then there was a series of slides. Each slide had a video on it, and they had to summarize what they learned from the video. So they needed to watch the video and then write on these slides and submit these slides. So there was like, I think I was doing this in Canvas. So I gave them an assignment in Canvas and said, do this one, submit it, and I'll excuse everything else. So they work on these slides while watching these videos, and it goes through all these various things that you want to show them, right? And then basically what I wanted them to do was there was like a couple things here, like, sorry, it might start talking at us. So I need to be, yeah, it's muted. Good. Oh, it's an ad. Oh man. So basically I had videos going over how to set up closed captions for any video on YouTube. So there's like a series of these videos focused on how to use YouTube because we watched a lot of videos in my class. And I want them to be able to understand what's being said, as well as being able to use the captions and the transcripts for my videos. So let's skip that. There's a whole video where I talk about how to do this, and I've got them captioned and I've got chaptered, and I show you how to do any language and get set up for your videos on there. And then if they're trying to watch another one of my videos, they can set up their closed captions or their transcript, which is super, super handy for students. In general, I think all students should be able to find a transcript for a video and then find a particular part in a video. But for ELD students, it's very, very helpful to see what was that word that they just said, um, as well as students who are in SPED who have a limited vocabulary, right? So you can kind of see that there's some overlap here. So there's a couple things like language supports help you understand information, what's being said to you. Then there's a few things like Canvas was the learning management system, kind of like Google Classroom. So I showed them how to know where the assignments were and how to turn in assignments. So there's a couple like classroom norm things that you have to do there. And then a few skills like with Google Slides, like this is how you make a concept map with the draw tools. And this is how you insert a photo, because you need to be able to insert photos for my assignments. Also pretty good for other classes as well, right? How to see feedback in a rubric in Canvas. So a little bit more of that learning management system. And then there's a few, these things, I think these were extensions that we had in the district for the students to use while they're reading and writing. So there's a couple like tech skills that I had for them. And then there was one thing on scientific writing that I wanted them to do. I added this way at the end of the year where I said, okay, you have to do one scientific writing thing where like you follow along and then you fill in the blanks, which was something that we had done in class. So most of these videos were pulled from assignments that I'd done in class, and then I just put them into this one series of slides and videos for them to watch and tell me what they've learned. And the best part about that is if they got all of that done, they would have everything that they needed tech skill wise and everything else wise to be successful in the class. And I didn't need to go over anything else with them. And so I wasn't spending all this time with the new students onboarding them. They just knew what they needed to do, they got it done, and then they were able to dive in. It was really, really nice. So yeah, just making sure I went over everything here. Yeah, we talked about all of that. Let me just double check. There is also one other thing I want to say is to make your own videos like how I've done there. You can do this all for free. And I have a video on how to use open source software to record and edit your own videos. And then you can just upload them onto YouTube. There's a ton of things that your district might have already purchased. Talk with your tech teacher to see how they would like you to record yourself and upload videos. But if you can record a video and you can get its URL, then you can put that URL as a link, and that's basically what I did for that one series of slides, where it was like, okay, well, there's all these links. Click on the links, watch the video, and then summarize over here. So you just need to be able to get your video onto YouTube. And I go over how to record, edit, and then upload all in this one video on my channel. Okay, so maybe I'll have that linked in this video's description. Yeah, I think that's basically everything for the How to Get Caught Up assignment. For students who are very limited in their English proficiency, you have to let them access translation technology. They have to be able to translate when they need to translate. So it's important that they have access to technology in the class and that their group members understand that it's okay for them to have their laptop open, or if they have a translation thing that's only on their phone, maybe they can have that open on their phone, but only that thing, only that one app, right? Like I had some students that were using something called Baidu from Taiwan, worked really nicely for working with the characters and inputting the characters, so they could have their phones out. So you want to be making sure you're accommodating their needs to access language that you might not anticipate, that they might have some gaps that you're like, oh, well, now you can look that up, right? So it's really important that they have some sort of translation service. And I'll show you how to use Google Translate in a minute. But I want to show you this because I discovered it pretty recently. All Chromebooks can enable closed captions for all audio on the device. It's pretty cool. So if you follow instructions here, You can pause and follow through it. You can also look it up. They've got like captions on your Chromebook. It's in their Chromebook helps. I've used this with one student before, and it was incredible. It was so cool because it's not just YouTube videos audio, but it's videos on Vimeo, on CK12, on all the sites that you might use. It catches that audio and translates it in real time on the device. So it's not in the browser, but it's on the device doing that audio. Really neat, flexible thing. I would just turn that on for all my ELD students unless they were getting annoyed by it and they're like, I don't need that. Please turn that off. Then I would get rid of it. But super cool. If you're using multiple sites, it's like invaluable. You can also use Google Translate to translate a page. So you can just type in like Google Translate, and that will take you to the Google Translate page, the URL. And here you can put in like words, and it will detect the language and do all that. But you can also do URLs. And so what I did was I took this website right here, and you can kind of see that's in English, and you can just Control C, copy, and then Control V for paste, plug that in, and it will translate it. Looks like it's going from English to English. No, let's say I want it in Dutch, and then it'll translate it into Dutch. Now you can kind of see it doesn't pick up the things inside of the simulation because those aren't just like font. But like any of these things, any of this font down here will get translated. It looks like Dutch actually they use the same things there for centimeter and millimeter and all that stuff. So you gotta be just kind of checking that out. Oh look, centimeters spelled a little bit different in that language. Cool. I learned something. So you just plug in that URL and it works for most sites. Very handy. Also, these are two not tech tips. These are kind of low tech tips. Make sure you're using your hands when you're talking, like you're pointing at things when you're talking about those things. If you need something like pour it out, like mime out the action, or if you need something measured, like try and pretend you're measuring with the scale. Yeah, it just helps to show what you're doing as well as say what you're doing. And then try and avoid contractions when you contract two words together, like don't or can't, because those can be pretty confusing for students. Small words like that can be big hiccups, so just be careful. And then also make sure you're just trying to move a little bit. All right, I think that's it. Thank you for joining me. This has been Andrew McLaren. Thank you for McLearning with me. I've got a few more offers that I'd like to let you know about, and remember, like and subscribe. For each video on YouTube, I am making an interactive version using HP5. These will be for sale on Podia, and if you click on the link in the video, you should be able to go directly to that product. I also have two demos I'm going to be linking so you can kind of see what these products look like. So I would recommend checking out those demos. I also offer one-on-one remote tutoring through Wyzant. Please use the links that I have linked below. That way I can get 100% of the hourly rate as opposed to 75. Each video also has a link for my Patreon, and you can join at the $3 level to get some resources I use for tutoring or to support the channel. And I also have a $5 raffle level, which you could either get some free online tutoring or 5 interactive lessons for free. You choose which ones. And then I also have my Teachers Pay Teachers, which has some old lessons that I made from when I used to be a teacher. I may be adding to that. Thank you for spending your time with me. I hope that you learned something.